Yeah. We did that with County. Oh, good.
All right, we're about to get started here. If you take your seats,
Collector's nice, we get people writing you checks.
we will have some fun here. Up front somewhere.
How are you doing?
My name's Donna, they're writing the county.
Oh, sure. Yeah, you keep the progress getting.
I've been missing a lot of meetings. Oh, yeah. So, I won't miss this one, but,
All right, we're ready, Bob?
Nice to meet you.
All right. I'd like to welcome everybody to the Christian County MRA's Tax Forum. We're here tonight to talk about property taxes and sales taxes. And we have the experts here to let you know where all of your money is being spent. Next slide. We're going to have the introduction by me, Ron Sanders, and then we're going to talk to Jeremy Burns, how your taxes are assessed. After that, we're going to have Chris Snyder. He is your collector-elect coming up to talk to us about how they're collected and distributed. After that, Johnny Williams and Jarad Giddens. Johnny Williams is our Western Commissioner, and Jarad Giddens is the mayor of Nixa. They're going to talk about county tax revenues and city tax revenues, which are mostly sales tax based. After they're done, I'm going to go over all of the taxing entities in Christian County and where they spend all your money. That's the hidden part. That's where nobody knows, nobody pays attention, and the majority of your money is spent by a whole bunch of normal everyday citizens just like you on committees, commissions, and boards. And then we'll take questions at the very end. And if anybody's out there watching the live and you want to show up, we have plenty of seats here. So next slide. Who levies taxes on the citizens, property taxes? Well, up here on the screen, I'll go through them all. We have the state of Missouri, we have the Christian County, gets their revenue, the county. The Christian County Library. Then we have the Health Board. Then we have CC Links, which is Senate Bill 40 on your tax bill. Then we have the City of Nixa or the City of Ozark, the City of Clever, the City of Sparta, Billings, Highlandville. They all have their own taxing entities as well. After that, we go through all of the schools, the Ozark Special, or road districts. We have the Ozark Special Road District is over in the east side, the Selmore Special Road District, the South Sparta Special Tax District, the Garrison Special Tax District or Special Road District, the Stoneshire Special Road District, the Christian County Ambulance District, and OTC. And we're not done. There are so many taxing entities that I had to make a second slide. Because now we're going to talk about all the school districts. Nixa, Ozark, Clever, Sparta, Highlandville, Billings, and Chadwick. You're paying a whole bunch of taxes to one of those schools. Hopefully not more than one. Then after that, we have the fire protection districts. Nixa has one, Ozark has one, Clever has one, Sparta has one, Highlandville has one, Chadwick has one, and Billings has one. So you are spending a whole bunch of money and you're donating that money through your taxes to the fire districts as well. And these are all necessary functions of our communities. But if you don't know what's going on and you're not paying attention to how things are levied and how things are collected, they may be doing stuff that you don't like or you don't want. They may be spending money that's unnecessary, causing you a little bit more heartbreak. So what makes up these boards and committees that control all these taxes? Well, they're normal everyday citizens like you and me. They're just citizens of Christian County, or citizens of those tax districts that get elected or appointed to that board. The boards, commissions, and committees that have taxing power are made up of ordinary citizens. There you go. They're elected and or appointed to those positions, depending on the board and depending on what's going on. If there is no competition on the ballot, then most of them automatically get elected, and then you never see them on your ballot. That's why a lot of these boards, nobody knows that they exist, because nobody ever runs for them. Nobody ever competes. They never get put on the ballot, and you never see who gets appointed or elected. And the last one, if nobody signs up to run at all, then that board or committee gets to appoint their own selection. And I think that everybody can understand how dangerous that can be. Next slide. Next up, I'm going to bring Jeremy Burns, the assessor, to come and speak to you about how things are assessed. Yeah. Please. And I will silence myself and get out of the way.
Thank you.
Still want him on the microphone too?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, no. I think everybody will be able to hear you. We just want everybody on the Facebook Live to hear you also.
Okay, thanks for the introduction, Ron. Like Ron said, my name is Jeremy Burns. I'm a Christian County Assessor. I was elected in 2024. The assessor's office is a little different, the way that our books close on our assessment cycles. We don't take office till the following September. So I took office September 2025, and I've been in office for about 9 months now. A little history of assessment. In 1820, Missouri first constitution required a uniform and equal system of taxation, and property tax was the primary tax base at that time. And then in 1821 through 1824, the legislature enacted statutes that levied the taxes on land and property, and the county assessor was established to value real estate for taxation. And in 1875, the Constitution was reinforced with uniform property tax requirements, placed limits on tax rates, and cemented property tax as the permanent revenue source for local government and schools. Over the last 2 years, I think everybody's heard about the State Tax Commission. There's a lot of rumors out of there that this was a new commission that was appointed by Governor Kehoe and they were out to get us. It's not true. In 1917 was when the State Tax Commission was established, and they're there to ensure uniformity across all the assessors in the state. In 1945, Constitution Article 10, all real and tangible personal property is proportion to value added exemptions, place property tax within the framework of Missouri's local governments. And in the 1980s is when the state had a statewide reassessment. A lot of things changed, and we're pretty much under the same statutes and everything that was established in the early 1980s. That's when the Hancock Amendment was adopted. And there's been a few changes over the years, but for the most part, what we do today was added to the Constitution back in the 1980s. The assessor, we have to take an oath of office. Every assessor should take an oath or affirmation to support the Constitution of the United States and of the state of Missouri, and to demean himself faithfully in office, and to assess all real and tangible personal property in the county in which he assesses at what he believes to be actual cash value. He shall endorse his oath on his certificate of election or appointment before entering the duties of the office. What does the assessor do? Well, the assessor, we determine value only. We apply the proper assessment classification and percentage. Commercial is assessed at 32%, residential 19%, and agriculture is 12%. So we value the properties at fair market value like we were supposed to by our oath. And then those are the assessment rates, and those rates are taken by your local levies to come up with the tax bill levy. The assessor does not set the tax rates, and we do not decide how much revenue is needed at those taxing entities. All we do is establish the value. Your taxing authorities set the levy rates. Ron did a good job of going through your different taxing entities. He did leave a few off. A lot of people forget that we have some school districts inside Christian County that don't have a building. So we got like Fordwood School District, Rogersville School District, Marionville, we got some Bradleyville, Ava. That's also, some people pay property tax to those school districts. The taxing authorities, like I said, that includes your school boards, city councils, county commission, fire districts. They set the levy rates each year based on their budget needs. They are subject to the Hancock Amendment that was established in the early '80s, and there's rollback provisions when assessments rise. And they decide how much money is gonna be collected. And then the collector, I'll let Chris talk on that later, but, the collector, he sends the bills out and collects. He prepares and mails the tax bills based on the assessor's certified values and the levies set by the taxing authorities. And then he collects the payments from the property owners. Then he'll distribute funds to each taxing jurisdiction, and he will enforce the delinquent tax collections. The State Tax Commission, they are the oversight and appeals. They provide the state level oversight of our assessment practices. They approve assessment maintenance plan and ratio studies. They'll also hear appeals after our local boards of equalization if we can't come to an agreement out of Board of Equalization. And they act as the court of tax fairness, and they ensure that all counties follow uniform standards. The assessor, we value personal property and real property. One of the things that every 2 years, we reassess in the odd years. Missouri is a non-disclosure state, so we do not get certificate of value. There's only 11 states that are non-disclosure states, so that's a battle us assessors fight also. We do send out sales letters, and some people, we get about 30% of those back to help build our sales ratios and our databases to make sure that we're trying to stay up to market value. So we use a cost approach. Our appraisal system, we use the cost approach. Personal property accounts, just some data. We have over 37,000 personal property accounts in Christian County. Then we got another, probably a little over 2,000 business accounts. In 2025, the assessed value on personal property was $375 million. And the assessed value, that was the appraised, the assessed value is $137,340,000 in 2025. Like I said, we do mass appraisal. We use different modeling of the real estate market. We take into consideration on that cost approach the condition, the age of the property, the improvements, the neighborhood, the land, etc. And that equals the market value of the property. We don't set, there's been a lot of confusion out there, some misstatements that we set the market value. We don't set the market value in the assessor's office. When you came in the door, I printed off a couple sheets here. It's from the Federal Bank in St. Louis. And in 2017, the average or the median listing price per square foot in Christian County was about $90 a square foot. In January 2026, it's over $180 a square foot. That's the market. That's not what the assessor says it is. That's what stuff's being sold for. The median listing price in Christian County in January 2017 was about 225,000. Median listing price now is over $400,000, about $420,000. Our reassessment cycles, like I said, it's every 2 years. Right now, I got 4 field appraisers full-time that are out in the field covering all 43,000 real estate parcels that we have, and I got a part-time commercial appraiser on Fridays that helps me do commercial. They are covering all of Christian County right now because we have to get all of our data in, update our pictures and everything, follow State Tax Commission guidelines. So when we can see what the market is on January 1st, I'll start making models and doing some ratio studies and seeing what we're gonna do with values for 2027. You guys might have noticed on all my vehicles, everybody has cameras these days, ring cameras, and we were getting lots of phone calls in the office of people wanting to know if we were out on the property, who it was. So I put new graphics on all our vehicles. That way people know. I think, Mike, you may mention that you saw them out in your neighborhood when I see you last week or the week before. I made it big. That way they're foot-tall letters. It goes all the way down the sides of the doors. That way, hopefully, people that get anxious at who's on their property or worried, that way they know it's us. Like I said, we don't set the market. We use sales approach, cost approach, and income approach. Income approach, I basically use it for the commercial. You don't really use it in the residential. We got cost models, the sales data that comes in, and like I said, we are out doing our field reviews right now. You do have a right to go to our Board of Equalization if you don't agree with our values at the assessor's office. We asked to conduct an informal hearing. If we make any changes of value, we will send out a change of value notice by state statute to all the property owners sometime in April. I've already sent those out this year. And then we ask for you to have an informal hearing with myself or somebody on my staff through the month of June so we can explain what has happened. And then if we can't come to an agreement, it's the property owner's right to file for the Board of Equalization. They have to bring in an appraisal or something that shows evidence of what they think their value should be. Our Board of Equalization, it's appointed by the commissioners. We got 2 realtors on there and an appraiser. And then if the property owner is still not satisfied with the Board of Equalization's decision, they can appeal to the State Tax Commission. And then it can go from the State Tax Commission to Circuit Court to an appeals court and all the way to the State Supreme Court. So people do have a right to defend their value if they want to. I worked for Danny before this, in the assessor's office for 13, almost 14 years. We usually have less than 5 people come to the Board of Equalization. Because if you notice, yes, taxes can be a burden. You can complain that your taxes are high, but 99.99% of the time, our value in the assessor's office is less than market value. And that's our job. We're supposed to be at market value, so we try to be conservative with our values. It's just the reality of the market. Most people ask the question, how's my home worth that much? It's market driven. We are supposed to place the true market value. We hear is the market inflated, and the reality is it's a rebalancing market, that the market has reset at this new normal. Like I said earlier, you can see what the value in the median listing price and sell prices have been over the last 10 years, and that's all market driven. Pre-COVID, between 2016 and 2019, there was about a 32% increase in the Springfield market, according to the data from the Federal Bank. from 2020 to 2023, during COVID, there was about a 48% increase. And post-COVID, from 2024 to now, there was about 11% increase. I will tell you, year over year, it is starting to stabilize. We're not seeing those 30, 40, 20, 10% increases. I think the last thing I looked at, Jarad, you might, probably about 3%, 2-3% is what we're seeing, which is kind of a normal market. Yep. When you all walked in, you could see the pie chart that I put on the table. About 75% of our tax bill goes to the school districts. I actually printed off my tax bill. My house is appraised at about $400,000. The assessed amount's $75,000, and I'm paying $3,941 a year. Sparta School District gets $3,078 of that. Our county, since Jarad or Johnny's sitting here, out of that $3,941, our county gets $33.49 in my tax bill.
That's about 1.6%.
That's, that covers about everything, Ron. Is there any other questions that, you want me to cover?
I don't know, do we have any questions from the audience, since we have a couple minutes? Hold on 1 second there, let's get you
Real quick, Ron, I forgot about, if anybody saw this handout when you walked in, this is called the circuit breaker. It's the 948 form. It's a state-run program, and it's income-driven. If you make, I think it's changed now. This sheet says 34,000, and Bob was gonna check on that. Representative Titus was gonna check on that for me. Last year, our state legislatures did pass to raise that income up to $45,000, I believe. And then the credit was maxed out at $1,100, and they changed it to, I believe, $1,700. I've been checking the Department of Revenue website. They haven't updated those numbers yet. But if you know anybody that makes less than $34,000, or it could be $45,000 this year, I don't know exactly when that goes into effect, they could qualify for an $1,100 or maybe $1,700 tax credit. Usually what they do is people will fill these out with their CPA during tax season. They're very well versed in this, and then if they qualify, you have to pay your taxes, and then you get a credit back from the state. But it's a state-run program, just trying to get the word out there on that. Sorry, go ahead, Ron.
I know it's probably since like the 70s or 80s or something, but my big question is why do we have to get reassessed constantly every 2 years, whether you sell or don't sell, based on perceived market value? I know that there's, from my Googling, it talks about we're a non-disclosure state, things of that nature, but I feel like it's, just because some math makes it look like it should be then revalued, I don't think that's a fair way to do it. It's nothing against you, but I think it's a pretty heavy burden for, taxpayers to be able to have enough manpower to do all the things that you just went through describing that you do, just to ultimately be like, oh, we've got to raise it this much now, to make sure that you're properly getting assessed in the house that you may have bought and paid off forever ago. And that's a capital gains, and I know that we just eradicated capital gains in the state of Missouri, did we not, just a few years ago? And so I feel like it's another flavor of capital gains, and I don't, do you have anything, I guess, we could talk through about that, or what we could do? I know it's 117.
No, I think, it's a good question, John. We've discussed this before. I'm just in charge of setting the market value. It's a position that I took an oath of office, and my job is to be at fair market value. The State Tax Commission's been around since 1917. They have guidelines I gotta follow. Ron just went through and showed all the taxing entities that assessment. Essentially, we set the values, the collector multiplies with the tax levies, so we have a functioning society. That's the way that we pay for everything right now. whether we like it or not, I mean, I have a job I have to do.
Right.
But the state legislature, I think there was over 80 or 90 bills for property tax that went through again through this session, and none of them were passed. So I just do whatever the state statutes are. I got laws that I have.
Absolutely. I was just trying to see if you had any other insight as.
But this market, I mean, I showed you, I mean, you made the mention and other people say, they act like we're not sitting in our office throwing a dartboard.
No, I know.
The market is the market, and when I take an oath to be at fair market value, I don't set that market.
Who has the ability to change every 2-year assessment?
The state legislature.
That's what, really, the question is, it'd be somebody writing a bill that says, hey, we're redoing this.
The assessors are basically bound by law to do what they do, and they can't make any changes.
Right, and to be clear, I was not attacking.
No, I know you're not, no.
It's more the principle of the thing, because I do feel like legislatively, we need to take action to adjust how, I mean, it's just how the law is written today, and since the 70s or 80s or whatever, and I just wanted to know if, like I said, you have any other insight that, you know, can maybe help motivate, our legislators to, you know, agree that that's unfair, and that we shouldn't just, it's a heavy way to continue to raise the bar.
Next
Right.
question.
But I will remind you though, you can go back and look from when the market turned in 2008. You can go back and look in I can show you records from 2008 to 2018, we didn't raise hardly any values. There was years that we did not raise values. So when the market's not moving, we're not moving the bar because we're at fair market value. We're supposed to be within 10%. So on a regular market, like it was from 2008, 2018, might have went up 2% one year, down 1% the next, up 3% the next. So we were always within that 10%, but like I showed you these numbers, and that's why I agree we need to do legislation. We need to fix the school funding formula because it's 75%. There's things that can be done. I know the legislatures are working on it. They, like I said, there was 80 or 90 bills, just none of them got through. And I did hear that there is a commission right now, some state legislatures and some people from the school districts, they are working on, the school funding formula. I heard they get together about every 20 years, and that's something that there is a commission working on right now.
So I don't understand a couple of things. Is this a non-disclosure state?
It is.
So how are you getting disclosure from a non-disclosure state?
We send out sales letters where
Yeah,
people.
but you're supposed to be a non-disclosure state, so if a bunch of people send in a bunch of prices, it still shouldn't mean anything because you guys are a non-disclosure state. And if you are a non-disclosure state, how can you establish a market?
We use cost.
What is your definition of a market? It's when a buyer and a seller agree on a price.
Right.
And so you're going up to people that haven't sold their home, and you're coming up with these numbers magically, and
Not coming up
taxing
magically, Tom,
people
we've had this
on
conversation
unrealized
before.
gains.
I've already told you, the market's set by the buyers and the sellers. It's not a
But you're
magic
a
number.
non-disclosure state, so you can't know that information.
We send out sales letters and we get probably 30%
That's
of
hearsay.
those back.
That's hearsay.
It's not hearsay.
Yeah,
You can also use data when there's listing prices. You can go to the Greater Springfield Board of Realtors or get on any realtor's website and stuff selling at 100% of listing price. That's pretty good data. And we can also use the MLS. We can't use it to set values, but we can use it to see what the market's doing.
But if we're a non-disclosure state, then you shouldn't have that information.
Non-disclosure state says that they do not disclose the certificate of value.
Non-disclosure means that we as homeowners aren't required to disclose
Right.
our sale price to him. That doesn't mean that there aren't laws that he has to follow right now that tell him how he is required to assess and reassess the properties.
And
The
some-
legislature has to
and
make
some-
those changes.
And some laws are unconstitutional.
That's what lawyers are for. I don't think Jeremy can make that,
I was not
determination.
here. I mean, I went back to the history. I wasn't here in 1820 when they started.
Okay, next, slide, please. Up next, we have the county collector, Chris Snyder, and he's ready to come up here and tell you all about how things are collected and how things are distributed.
So Jeremy did a great explanation on pretty much everything. Do I need to come up there?
Yeah, you need to come up here.
Do I get to stand or do I get to sit?
You can stand.
No. Chris Snyder, so once the assessment is completed and the levies are set, then the tax bill being created, which then our office will mail it out right around the 1st of November with your taxes due by December 31st. You can pay your taxes online, you can pay it by mail. We have a drop-off facility there at the local office. After January 1st, then penalties will be assessed each month based on the set penalties. Other than that, it's pretty basic. Jeremy explained pretty much the entities, and yourself explained the entities, how the levies are set. All the entities that you have listed, there was actually a couple others that weren't included. They're actually similar, would be like Republic Schools, Fordland, and some others. They're boundary stars that the assessor's or the collector's office does actually collect as well. So
There's also, Chris, on, the state assessed railroad utilities.
yes,
All the railroad utilities in the state, they're assessed by the state of Missouri, and he's in charge of collecting those also.
Thank you for pointing out all my
Yes.
mistakes. Takes
Yes,
the heat off
thank
you
you.
guys. Keep going. What else you got?
that's the basics of it, essentially. So-
How do people get their bills and how do people pay their bills?
So their bills are mailed directly to them, and they'll be mailed out 1st November, and then they can pay their bills. They're due December 31st. You can pay your bills online. You can mail them in, or you can also drop them off at the drop box there at the county courthouse, or the old courthouse, the county offices. So
How can they pay? What are the different forms of payment that you take?
check. I apologize, I do not know all the credit cards accepted, but check, credit card, cash,
So we can pay in pennies?
so.
Everybody was thinking it.
You could officially, I guess, but I would definitely appreciate if you would not, especially, so, provided I will be in office effective November.
At some point, I'm pretty sure people might start asking if it's possible to use some of the apps like Venmo, Cash App, or Zelle to do their payments.
That is something I'll have to look into with me, not having been in office yet. I'm still, currently I'm checking in at the office, communicating with the current collector that has done a great job over the last 30 years. Ted Nichols has been amazing. I'm very fortunate in the fact that I do have the opportunity to learn from Ted, and so there will be a very smooth transition for not only the staff as well as the, our elected, other elected officials, and, the most important part, the constituents. So, I'm very fortunate in that, and I will learn more as I grow, but I have to look into that question.
Are there any other questions from the crowd here?
A little bit to defend Chris, like he said, he's many months before he even starts this thing.
Yes.
So he plans on taking early to go in and work on it to get some of that stuff, but it's a lot to learn, and for him to be, 8 months, 9 months out
Yes.
from starting.
Hey, Chris, I appreciate you, and everyone appreciates you stepping up and running for this important position. Here's my question and thought to think about. And if you're interested, then the commission will help this year Ted Nichols' budget for next year. Okay, this would be something we always budget ahead on expenditures. So one of the things I've noticed the last 3 years is, and many counties are this way, so we're not the exception. There are a few counties that are the exception. There are some counties that will accept partial payments at the end of, on 12/31, they will accept a partial payment. So if you have X amount of dollars and that's all you have, they will take that. But they can only do that if they have this software you can't have a human trying to figure out partial payments, payments ahead of time, payments late, interest, penalties, all the things. You have to have software. But I've already talked to some counties as I go to meetings the last 5 years and now the 6th year. And so more and more counties are beginning to look at that, and some are doing it. And here's why I say that. I'll give you an example. Just this past year, my office is on the 2nd floor. I sit on the 1st floor, right across from the collector's office. And it's the worst place to be when people are paying their taxes, because most of them, 99% of them, are upset. But I like to listen to them because I like to learn things that we might be able to do differently and better. One of the things I would suggest as I go out is to think about maybe having a software program that people, because I'll give you the best example. I had a young man from Chadwick, and he owed $1,400. Personal tax and property tax, $1,400. And he had $1,000 in bills he had saved to pay, but he lacked $400. He didn't know. That's the first time that's happened to him. He said, I have 3 jobs, and my wife has 2 jobs, and I still can't come up with the money. But I will pay $100 a month for the first 4 months, and I will get the county paid. And he thought they would keep the $1,000, and they said, no, you'll have penalties and interest starting on day 1, on January 1st. So that's gonna cost that guy a lot more money. And so, I'm not bragging, it's absolutely not bragging. But I gave the guy $400. I've done this 3 times the last 3 years. And I'll do it again if I have to this year. I just don't like somebody coming in there and telling me, I can tell when they're really hurting and when they've really tried hard. And they tell me, this is all I have, and they won't take it. I would just really study, because here's the thing, if they could pay early, every month early, that would give the county cash flow, but so it would help the county, but it's also gonna help that person manage their money. We have a lot of people in this county hurting.
We do, and, thank you for bringing that up. So, I am very dedicated in working for our constituents. And, one of the most important things, I've told this, and I've said this multiple times to multiple people, one of the things is I'm not perfect. I'm not a perfect human, and I don't know everything. And I'm learning. But, I do expect everybody to hold me accountable as I would hold my elected officials currently accountable. So I would ask that everybody do that to me as well. I have actually looked into some options, spoken with the current collector, Ted, a little bit, and Jeremy and I have spoken on a few things. I have done my due diligence, and I continue to work, and I'm gonna continue to go in, and, I wanna make this transition just as smooth as possible. And, those are some things I'm gonna be looking at, and definitely bring that information to me, because I don't know everything out there, and I will go through a learning process. I know the basics, I know, the important parts, I know budgeting, people skills, making sure that we properly manage. I'm gonna, I'm committed to being an accountable steward to the financial, of the county, so.
Yeah, no, and we know you will be, so thank you.
And I had visited with Ted for quite a while, because it had been brought up several times. One of the toughest things, in trying to put that program together where somebody can come in and make a partial payment or do something, one is being able to manage that, the software to be able to do it. The second thing is you could have someone come in, and there'd have to be a lot of details behind it, because you can have somebody come in and make small payments, but they would never ever get caught up. And so therefore, it's a way to kick the can down the road where something happens, and then they've never paid their taxes, and you have entities that are waiting, the schools, all these other entities saying, hey, these people aren't paying, everybody's making payments, but the money's not coming in. And so therefore, if they're making payments, then you can't hold them accountable to say, hey, this has to go, after 3 years or with the time frames. of when that would go on the courthouse steps to say, hey, you're not paying your taxes. We're all held accountable to pay our taxes, and it stinks when people can't. Helping people is amazing. That's some of the things that he was up against, is trying to figure out how do you do that, but then still get the payments to the entities that need it to fund what they're operating and not lose those funds. So I've had that exact same conversation with him, because I was just curious myself.
And I've had that conversation, you know, important parts of accountability, making sure we do have the correct software. I would, you know, I think a prepayment option would be much better than a payment after the fact. One of the things is, you know, I'm all about, fairness across the board. So whatever's available to one person should be available to all, and making sure that, you know, everybody's held to the same accountability.
And that's something I've seen done in other states, Chris, and I think you and I have talked about
Yes.
this. There are other states, and there might be some counties in Missouri, but I know the other states, they make a prepayment, cause they can kind of judge what their tax bill was from the previous year, so they'll make a prepayment, in an April or May, and then when the tax bills are generated, then there's a balance, so it's twice a year, and it kind of helps people. And then another thing that Chris and I have talked about, that the collectors, it's the collector program, is the Senate Bill 190, the Senior Citizens Property Tax Credit. That's something that Chris will be helping make more efficient and help guide us through that, if it's a new process and a new program also.
Working through improved process on that, and speaking of that, I actually had that written down, and I almost forgot through everything. Anybody who has filed, that is actually due June 15th, so, anybody that's listening, please make sure that you have filed yours by June 15th. First time, definitely you have to go in and go through the notarization process as well.
All right. Well, thank you, Chris Snyder. All right, up next, we're gonna have the Western County Commissioner, Johnny Williams, come up, and he's gonna talk about the tax functions of the county. They collect a very little bit of, property taxes, but the county functions mostly on consumption taxes, sales taxes. And with that, I give you Johnny Williams.
Yeah, I'll give you the short and sweet to it. So on the property tax side, the county collects about 1.6% of what is collected. Year to year, that number changes a little bit. It changes depending on if people have paid their taxes. That would range in the last couple of years from $750,000 to $900,000-ish. That 80%, roughly 80% of our budget comes from sales tax. So what we're starting to see in the county, as we've talked about through sales tax, is people are starting to purchase more and more online. And as you do that, through the use taxes we had spoke about, when people purchase something online out of state, they don't pay the county's portion of those taxes. So as we have an older generation that maybe doesn't shop as much online, starting to pass away, and a younger generation starting to move out, which does everything online, we're starting to see those numbers start to flat. So as inflation grows 3, 4, 5, 6%, last year I think we were just a little bit over 2% in growth. And you can see long term, that's something you have to look at ahead of time and say, hey, this could be a problem long term. So when it comes to the property tax portion of it, as I said, it's 1.6% each year, and I have sat down with the auditor several times, and she has explained to me the ratio of how this is figured, and I still cannot fully gather it, so she's much smarter than I am. But each year, the commissioners vote once a year on a levy, whether or not we make a levy increase or we do not. That ratio is figured on basically how much money has come in compared to what the bills and the different things that come, and that's that ratio where she's like, you figure this and this and this and this, and it's above me. The last 3 years, the county commissioners have voted to not raise that levy, knowing that in the future we are going to need this. With the auditors saying, hey, we need this moving forward, we still said no, because we don't want to just raise taxes to raise taxes. So we did put the use tax on the ballot. It failed. And here's what I think the great thing about it is it's our job as elected officials to come forward and say, here are the needs of the county, here's what I can see needed in the future. And if people say, hey, we don't want that, then we respect that, and we go back to work and do the best we can with what we have. And that's exactly what we're doing. That levy would have been about $500,000 increase on that ratio. If sales tax increases a bunch, the next time that ratio would come around, that number would be smaller. But the last 3 years, we have said no to that. We know that there'll be a pushing point somewhere down the road. We will have to make some tough decisions and decide whether or not that's gonna be a must or we continue to cut services. And this last year, we did cut the services of our recycling center. We were spending about $150,000 a year on that. It's not something that we wanted to cut, but we did because we seen the needs of just making sure that we're keeping up. So that is the decisions, that's how the sales tax changes. So we can roll a levy back anytime we want, any amount we want to when we take that vote every year, but we cannot increase your levy unless the ratio says what we're allowed to do. So it's not just the commissioners just go vote and say, hey, we'll take 10% or we'll do whatever. All those things have numbers to them. So when it comes to the sales tax, like I said, we really push for everybody to shop local. We have, we're one of the fastest growing counties. We are the fastest growing county in this last year, but we've been in the top 2 or 3 for the last 20 years. We're approaching 100,000 in population. When that happens, it changes some of our regulations. Where we'll be adding an associate circuit judge. We'll have to add staff to that. If you're having more judges and things, you're gonna have to have prosecution staff. We're building, when you're doing that, when your population's growing, that means we're building roads. That means the police are gonna take more calls, and that's gonna continue to grow in the need. So people are coming in getting more permits, there's more people coming in getting marriage certificates and recording property with the recorder. There's more assessments to be done, there's more taxes to collect, so it really does affect everybody as our growth. And so we're just doing a good job of making sure that we're managing that, making the smartest decisions that we can with the taxpayer dollars that we have, so. Anybody have any questions for me?
Just a statement.
Sure.
Thank you, yeah, microphone. We try to shop local all we can this sport.
Absolutely.
And we're looking at the receipts, actually, even if you're gonna go to the big boxes like Walmart or Lowe's, the sales tax is cheaper in Christian County than it is in Greene County, so why wouldn't you?
It's cheaper than it is in Taney County, it's cheaper than it is in Stone County. We're one of the cheaper taxing entities around. The county gets 1.5%. If you look at your thing, it'll say 1.75%. The 0.25% is collected by E911, which is the 911 center for the police, and they collect that portion of that tax. So when we ask for the use tax, it's 1.5 because they would have to put their own entity portion of it. So that lets you know what that percentage is, where the cities, you know, they're usually in the 4% range, the state's taking theirs or whatever their figures are. We're by far the lower on the sales tax portion, but. All right, anything else? Yeah.
This amendment 5 on the ballot, if we do away with state tax, does that impact our county?
That's not gonna change the county's portion of what we collect. That's through the state's portion. Yes, it can affect, because then if other things get taxed or changed, then yes, that would be, but that's through the state. So if they change that portion and it goes to, you know, they start taxing Little League Baseball or whatever the thing is, then the county would, I don't know if the county would tax, and Bob might be able to answer that question for us. Did you hear that question, Bob?
No. Go ahead.
In Amendment 5, if sales tax is eliminated, and they change the tax and say they start taxing things that weren't taxed before, do the counties and the cities automatically tax, does that tax go in, or will it only be through the state?
All of that has yet to be established.
Okay.
So Amendment 5 will basically give the legislature authorization to start, you know, basically engineering how that will work.
And I can tell you from past history, with the use tax, the state said, oh my gosh, we can't do without those fundings. They didn't put it to the vote of the people, they just took their money. Then they told all the municipalities and the counties, oh, you gotta take it to the vote of the people if you want yours. So, I don't know, but that's how it has been done in the past, but everybody's just kind of waiting because we don't really know fully what the plan is. Yeah.
Have you identified any lavish and wasteful spending that Christian County uses?
You know, Tom, I would be happy to sit down with anybody to sit down and look and say, here's where we can save money, here's what we can do. I think people have the overall generalization is we have a budget like when you own your own business. And I own a business and here's my budget, and I get to control this money and spend money where I want, try to save money where we want. When it comes to the commission, we're just so limited with what we really truly have control over budget-wise. I personally have not seen a bunch of waste and giant waste and spending, and I have sit down with the auditor, I have sit down with individual department heads, I have done all of those things. If there's something there that's major lavish spending or really, extreme, I sure have not seen that. And that's the same as the auditor goes through it just as well. We have a very good auditor that does a great job of going through those entities.
Have you set up any kind of a formal way that the citizens, when they discover lavish and wasteful spending, that they can announce it to the rest of the citizens and to you guys, and you can act on it? and save us
Email us and say, hey, here's what I've seen, or here's what I've, we have to know about it. If somebody says, hey, I found out by looking at this paperwork that this much money is being wasted over here, please call us, please email me, please let us look into it. We keep the book right there, the full budget book right there on the counter for anybody to come in, sit down, talk about it, go over anything anybody would like to. I'd be happy to do that at any time.
Johnny,
100%.
also tell them about the auditor's transparency. The auditor, Amy Dent, she has the budget online. It's updated, it's transparent, anybody can go in there at any time and look at it.
You can see what every single entity uses, spends, what their budget is, what their budget was last year, all the way through. And there's a lot of things that are confusing. There's restricted funds, there's funds that go into different entities. Go on.
Hey Johnny, could you touch on that same subject? Could you maybe touch on exactly how the county funds is collected and how it's separate from other taxing jurisdictions within the county? No, within what the county collects as far as their revenue, how it, like, some people look at the county like, y'all got the city of Ozark or the city of Nixa has millions of dollars. Y'all don't need no more money, but it's a misconception of the revenue stream and how it actually goes.
Sure, and that's what we talked about just a little bit ago. We get 1.75%, 0.25% goes to E911. That is the portion of the tax. So if your tax says, you pull your receipt and it says 7.825%, we, the county as a whole, is getting 1.5% of those funds. So across the county.
And also, did you touch on like all the money, I know that, I think y'all did, y'all was talking about that one coming in, but all the money that the county collects does not belong to the county, y'all distribute that back out to the jurisdictions.
Right, and that's where we went back through the restricted funds and different things like that, you're right.
And all the taxing entities, so.
Right.
At the very beginning.
He said
Ron,
all checks out.
Yeah, at the very beginning, Ron actually, he spoke about all the taxing entities.
I don't think so.
And we had them posted as well. There's probably about, roughly around 40.
There's over
50
now.
Something like that.
If you add in-
Taxing entities
If you add
across
the
the
state assessed, there's over 50 now.
Any other questions for me?
I think one more comment, just kind of add to what the commissioner said. We're very fortunate. Commissioner Williams is very good. He's done a great job in the short time that he's been here. But one thing I want you all to realize, it's not just a sales tax problem because we have a lot more people buying online. That's gonna continue to increase. I hope our mayor talks a little bit about his success over at the city of Nixa on how much money they collect on the sales tax on items bought outside the state of Missouri, because that's what we were envying about, because it would have put our county into a situation where we wouldn't have to be making cuts and continue to make cuts probably. So.
And we have that in our plan to roll the tax levy completely back to next to nothing, where you would pay next to nothing in property tax to the
Yeah,
county.
our plan, just like
We
Commissioner Williams said, I don't think people understood that, but 900,000 we collected this year, in a $69.9 million budget. Our budget's a $70 million budget. 900,000 is nothing to for the property tax and personal property tax. It's nothing to the total budget. It's already gone. The money's already spent, okay? We're way past that, okay? So that's not the problem. The problem is too, we keep seeing lower sales tax collection because we have people buy online. The other thing that people just don't understand, and it's been this way for a long time, it's somewhat getting better, but it's not really that much better. But it will someday. I hope I'm still alive when I see it happen. I believe that Christian County will have better paying jobs, enough to keep people working right here in Christian County. We have so many good people, young people and older folks that go to work someplace else besides Christian County. And when they do, they don't buy their gas on the way to work, they don't eat usually on the way to work, they don't go shopping on their way to work, but they buy gas on their way home, they eat on their way home, they go grocery shopping on the way home, especially if both the husband and wife work outside the county. We have a lot of really good people that buy elsewhere. So we're losing that sales tax. So there's a lot of things that we deal with, and like you said, Tom, like you said, hey, you know, I offered almost every day I could think of. Only 5 people came in, 2 couples and 1 man came in, and we had a 505-page budget laying out for 3 weeks before we vote on it the last time, final vote. And only 5 people out of almost 100,000 people came in to look at that. And like they said, that budget is live. Every dollar spent every day, every dollar brought in every day. You can see everything the commission's ever spent the first 6 months of this year. You can see every department. You can see whatever you think is waste or whatever. Hey, come in and talk to us. I'm there every day. And so I'm really surprised when I hear people say that. I see it on Facebook, but they don't come in and talk to me. I just gonna tell you, yeah, and Johnny's right. Send him an email, talk to him, call him, whatever. He's gonna help you, but he didn't know it unless you come in and talk to him. And same way with me, okay?
All right.
If I could say something, so I've been involved.
All right, we're gonna take a 5-minute recess for technical difficulties. We will be right back.
Do we call